call it yours. Take this life, you're the one I'm living for. I give it all to you. I give it all to you. Love so great, it taught my heart to beat again. And your praise will ever be upon my lips. Oh, I give it all to you. I give it all to you. Your love is better than life, better than life, better than life. Your love is better than life, better than life, better than life. So I give it all, give it all, give it all, give it all to you. Oh, and I give it all, give it all, give it all, give it all to you, to you, to you. I give it all to you. Hands held high, I surrender everything I have. At your feet, I'm finding everything I am. Oh, I give it all to you, Lord. I give it all to you. Oh, your love is better than life, better than life, better than life. Your love is better than life, better than life, better than life. So I give it all, give it all, give it all, give it all to you. Oh, and I give it all, give it all, give it all, give it all to you, to you, to you. I give it all to you. You're so much more than I could ever hope for. You're so much more than I could ever hope for. You're so much more than I could ever hope for. You're so much more than I could ever hope for. Oh, you're so much more. Your love is better than life, better than life, better than life. Your love is better than life, better than life, better than life. So I give it all, give it all, give it all, give it all to you. Oh, and I give it all, give it all, give it all, give it all to you, to you, to you, to you. Give it all to you. I give it all to you, Lord.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm Cody. I'm the digital pastor here at Prairie Lakes Church. And before anything else, we need you to hear this, that we are a no matter church. And what that simply means is no matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done, or even what's been done to you, God loves you, and you can look for him here with us. So if you're joining us for the first time, or you've been here for a while, and you just haven't taken that step in getting connected, today would be a great day to take that step, because we know that connected people, they're growing people. So if you take that step, it takes about 30 seconds. I'll send you an Amazon gift card here today, just as a thank you. And you can get to that form to fill that out by texting PLC, it's just 3 letters, PLC, to 99581. And that's to 99581. So if you fill that out here, I'll get an Amazon gift card sent to you in your email here today, just as a thank you. And it's hard to believe that Easter and Good Friday are 2 weeks away. And that is just a blessing of a service to attend. So I encourage you to attend a Good Friday and an Easter service, either in person or online. And all of the service times, all of the children's programming, all of the details are at prairielakes.org/Easter. But more than just attending, Easter is one of the best times to be invitational. We know that your little Iowa, your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, they're more likely than ever to say yes to an invite this year. So what that means is just encourage you to be prayerful. Ask God to put the names on your heart who you should be invitational with, and then bring them on your arm. Whether that's your virtual arm, watching with them online, watching with them in your living room, or attending with them at a physical service. Just really encourage you to be invitational. We get to do this, so let's be invitational in these coming weeks. And a next step that we talk about every single week is giving generously. And practically, when you give, you fuel our ministry. You help us change lives. The online campus is possible because of your generosity, but also when we give generously, when we trust God with our finances, we give God room to work, and he does something inside of us. So if you are ready to give, whether it's for the first time or to increase in your generosity, you can do that online right now at prairielakes.org/give, and you can select your campus from the drop down. But we're going to continue in our Gift of Lent series, so let's kick to today's message.
Head towards Easter. Ultimately, it's a time to fast in imitation of Jesus' fasting in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights prior to his public ministry. But why are we called to fast, or even what is fasting? Fasting is a spiritual discipline that within a period of time we give up food or something else to focus our thoughts on God. It allows us to realize our dependency on God. It's a spiritual discipline, an act of worship to God.
Hey, good job getting to church this weekend. I'm really glad that you're a part of this thing. Remember, we're one church on many corners, and man, you've made a great decision by starting your week off this way. So really, really good job. Hey, we are in Lent, which simply means this. It's this very intentional walk, the 6 weeks leading up to Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday, okay? So we're taking these intentional steps, 6 weeks, and we're saying, God, speak to us, getting our hearts and our minds ready for Good Friday and for Easter. So we're really glad you're on the journey. And so what we've been doing for this Lenten series is this. We're saying Lent's a gift, okay? Lenten season is a gift to us. And so every week we're trying to receive a gift that we can say, God, would you please use this in my life? So here's where we've been up to this point. We're in week 5 now, but here's the first 4. So we started this and we said, here's the gift of freedom, receive this. And every week we fasted from something. And I hope it's been beneficial to you, because it really has to me. So we had a food fast, and the second week was the gift of comfort, and we said, listen, let's fast from impulse spending. And then last week, or 2 weeks ago, it was the gift of acceptance. I accept, God, your approval. I can't earn it. And we said, let's fast from social media. Some of you are still recovering from that one. And then last week, we had the gift of perspective. And we said, let's fast from sweets and caffeine, okay? And so I gotta confess something, okay? I gotta confess this. Now, after the services and throughout the week and leading up that week, I had people saying things like this to me. Hey, does this count? Or what if it's sweetener? What if it's like NutraSweet? Does that? And and I would smile and we'd laugh about it. And I would just say to people, just do kind of keep the big picture here. What are we trying to do, right? We're trying to get a perspective that something very small can drive our behaviors. Okay, so perspective, right? With God's perspective in us. All right, so I'm in my truck, and all of us would say peanuts are okay, right? It's not a sweet. It's not a sweet. But are honey roasted peanuts? Does that count? And I found myself in my truck guzzling these honey roasted peanuts, wondering if it counts. So listen, I hope it was good for you. It was good for me. And what I learned was there are some small things that can actually control my behavior. And man, I need the gift of perspective. So let's go. Here's what we're going to do this week. We're going to step in an area that needs to be stepped into, okay? And it is exceedingly simple, and at the same time, it's exceedingly difficult to do. The step could and might seem insignificant, but here's the deal with this gift this week and the step that we're going to take. This one could really be the game changer for you in your spiritual journey. If you feel stuck or lost, or you're feeling like you're not listening or hearing from God, or you just kind of feel like you're kind of fumbling through, this could really be the game changer. And in fact, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to contend that you cannot grow in Jesus. You cannot step to where He wants you to step without this. And here's where we're going this week. So we're going to receive the gift of awareness, okay? The gift of awareness, being aware, putting ourselves in a spot to be aware, okay? And how are we going to do that? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to fast from background noise, okay? So we'll get to it, okay? Going to fast from background noise, and here's what that needs to happen. Here's the awareness that we're looking for, okay? We're going to shut off the noise and enter into silence, okay? And I know some of you right now are going, well, it's a big deal. And some of you are going, oh no. Enter into silence and let God speak to us, okay? So we're going to do something very simple for a significant purpose this week. Shut off the noise and enter into silence to let God speak to us, okay? So let's start with the Bible and just know this. I'm going to end with some very, very practical. Here's how you do it, okay? Here's how we can practice this week, and here's how we can take steps into it this week. But let's start with the Bible, okay? Let's start that, and also know this: that at the end of the service, we're going to practice this too. We're going to put it into practice. All right. So everybody, turn to the book of Luke. Okay. Now we've been primarily walking through the book of Luke for all of these up to now. This is the 5th week. For these 4 weeks, we've been in the book of Luke, marching with Jesus to the cross and to the tomb. So everybody turn to the book of Luke. It's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, okay? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And Luke, I'm going to just walk you through. I want you to see something. There's a pattern that I want you to see, okay? So it's not John Fuller. It's not Pastor John saying this. It's not your campus pastor saying this. This is a pattern. And it's actually a pattern in the life of Jesus. And I think it's important we do the things that Jesus did, okay? So everybody go to Luke, and I'm going to walk you we're going to march through Luke very quickly on some passages. So everybody go to Luke chapter 4, okay? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, go to Luke chapter 4. And Luke, this is the start of Jesus' ministry. So just look at it with me. It says Jesus, in verse 1, it says Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, left the Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, where for 40 days he was tempted by the devil. He ate nothing during those times, and at the end of them he was hungry. But look at the top again. Here's what it says: was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. So he intentionally moved into silence. Jesus did this, okay? Start of his ministry, before he's gonna start this 3 year. He's gonna turn his face to Jerusalem, and he's gonna start this 3-year march of showing people who God is and what God is like and how God loves them. And he's going to do it for 3 years. But before he does that, he goes into silence so he can hear from God. So stay in chapter 4 and just flip over to verse 42. Flip over to that. And you're looking at this one. And in Luke 4:42, it says in 40, it says this. It says, at sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who had various kinds of sickness, and laying hands on each one, he healed them. Moreover, demons came and many people shouting, you're the Son of God, but he rebuked them and would not allow them to speak because they knew he was the Messiah. So here's Jesus in the middle of this, power ministry, right? He is in the middle of it. Look at 42. At daybreak, Jesus went out to a solitary place. The people were looking for him. When they came to him where he was, they tried to keep him from leaving them. But he said, and listen to this, I must proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God to the other towns also, because that's why I was sent. And he kept on preaching in the synagogues of Judea. Look back at 42. At daybreak, he went out to a solitary place. Here's Jesus again, right? He's in the middle of stuff. He's in the middle of life. He's in the middle of intense ministry. What's he do? He goes into the quiet. And what happens in the quiet? God speaks and reminds him, here's why you were sent. And then when the temptation comes, he can say, no, this is why I'm here. Okay, so let's just stay in Luke and let's just go a few more though. Go over to chapter 5 and look at verse 15 of chapter 5. And 16 is working ahead, but start at 15. And he heals this man with leprosy, and then in 15 it says, 5:15, it says, yet the news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. And look at 16, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. So there it is again. He withdrew and he prayed. Just stay right here. Look over at verse 12 of chapter 6, okay? Look over at verse 12. And in chapter 6, verse 12, here's this little story where he calls the disciples. So this is the naming of the 12. And in verse 12 it says, one of those days, Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. And when morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he also designated apostles. So just get the picture, okay? Just get the picture. Here's Jesus. At the beginning of his ministry, he's going to start this thing. He goes off quiet, and here he is at another momentous spot where he's going to choose 12, and he goes off, and what's he do? He deliberately enters into intentional silence so he can hear God speak. Let's just go to one more place, and let's go towards the end now. Let's go to Luke 22. Let's go to the end and after the Last Supper. And in Luke 22, I want you to just go to about verse 41 or somewhere in there, 39, and here's what it is. So they leave the Last Supper, and this is right before he gets arrested, okay? Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. I want you to see something just kind of overlooked there. He went out as usual to the Mount of Olives. What was there? It was like a garden where he would go be alone. It was a mount that he could go, and it was a place where you could be quiet. And this was his as usual. Okay, this is Jesus now. And on reaching the place, he said to them, pray that you'll not fall into temptation. And look what it says in 41. He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them and knelt down and prayed. And that's the spot. This is just before, this is looking over the hill to the crucifix. This is right on the cusp of the crucifixion. What's he do? He goes for silence because he needs to hear God speak. He needs to. Now, just for a minute, okay? This is Jesus, okay? This is Jesus. He's not doing something crazy. He's not doing something only a God could do, right? He's not. He's doing this. He's intentionally entering into silence. He's turning off the background noise because what he needs is he needs to hear the Father speak. He needs the Father to speak to the inside stuff that's going on. He needs that. And here's my question. I hate to even ask this, but just inside your own head, here's the question. I do this for myself. I'm like, okay, how many minutes a day in the last week, or how many minutes in the whole last week did I spend in intentional silence to give God room to speak? And I think for most of us, it's not very many, but yet here's this picture of Jesus, and here's what he did, okay? Here's what he did. So I want to just go to this. Like, if we practice, right, practicing intentional times of silence gives God room to speak to the inside stuff. Just leave it here for a minute. Practicing intentional times of silence, right? Putting myself into that, turning off the background noise. And as hard as that is, because listen, I know for many of us, we just have something going, because if I've got the TV on and I got my podcast going, or I got my streaming music going, or what I'm doing in my car, I got the radio on, and if I always have noise, then here's what happens. If I have noise going, then I don't have to think. I don't have to. But here's Jesus, and here's what his picture was, and here's our picture this week. Intentional times of silence gives God room to speak to the inside stuff for you and for me. And that's crucial. And here's why it's crucial. Because silence is a necessary path to becoming a no-matter follower of Jesus. In fact, if you go back to what I said earlier, I contend that it's very difficult and maybe impossible to grow in Jesus without this. So think through this with me, okay? So if you're someone who's made a step over the faith line, okay, you've stepped over the faith line, you trust Christ, you become a follower of Jesus, you confess that you're a sinner, and you believe that Jesus is who he says he is, that he really did die on the cross for you and me, that he really did rise from the dead, the only one that's ever risen from the grave, and he really is alive today, and he loves you, and you follow him, he's got you, you got a home in heaven someday, and while you're on this earth and you're walking the trail of this earth, listen, he forgives you, he loves you, he's got a plan for your life, you become a follower of Jesus. If you haven't made that step, this is your day to finally just surrender and say, I can't do it. You do it. You do it, Jesus. I confess and I believe that you are who you say you are. I confess I'm a sinner. And I trust you and I make the step over the faith line, okay? So here's the deal. Our goal, right? Our goal, if you're a follower of Jesus, okay? If you're a follower of Jesus, is to be a no-matter follower of Jesus. And we say that a lot. And what's that mean? When we say that, what's that mean? It means things like this. It means surrender to Jesus, right? It means this holding this tension, this balance, this beautiful balance of grace and truth. And they're not opposed, but they're in balance and tension together. It means you are Jesus with skin on to people around you. You're showing them love and you're caring for them and you step in when there's a need and you're there for people. It's that Jesus who prays for his neighbors. That's what a no-matter follower is. It's bold humility. It's being interruptible and approachable and a kind of truth-telling friend. And here's kind of my litmus test for a no-matter follower is if you live like Jesus in such a way in front of your little Iowa, when somebody in your little circle of Iowa, when something goes wrong, do they know they can talk to you? Do they know that you'll listen to them, you'll pray for them, you'll hug them? Do they know that? That's a no-matter follower. That's what we want. I want you to be there. I want my kids to be there. I want my grandkids to be there. I want my staff. This is what I want. I want everybody at Prairie Lakes to be a no-matter follower, okay? Now, to get to be a no-matter follower, just follow this with me, okay? To get to be a no-matter follower, you got to know him more, and you've got to know me more, right? So you can spend time in the Word, and you got to know who he is, and I got to know who I am, what's going on inside of me, and why I'm wired this way, and what God's doing inside of me, right? So it's know him more and know me more, okay? You can't. They go together, okay? Now, if underneath that is, if I'm going to get there, if I'm going to know him more, know me more, then I've got to listen, and I've got to let him speak. I've got to be listening and letting, active, him speak to me. And my friends, this week, this is why we're pounding away at this one. Because if this is going to happen, you've got to have intentional times of silence. If you'll turn everything off, and you'll say, God, here I am, and you'll let him speak, and you'll listen to him, you're going to know him more, and you're going to know yourself more. And that is this path to being a no-matter follower of Jesus. It's what it is. Practicing intentional times of silence gives God room to speak to the inside stuff that's going on in me. So everybody, just back to the Word. I want to just keep going on the same trail, right? We've got to pound this one home, okay? Everybody turn to Luke 14. You're in Luke 22. Turn back to Luke 14. And Luke 14 is the passage, and there's several of these. I think 3 of the 4 gospel writers writes this very similar, this cost of being a follower of Jesus. And so in 25, these large crowds are gathered. That's when he says, if you want to follow me, you got to hate your mother and father, your brother and sister, and pick up your cross. And then he starts talking about estimating, counting the cost of what it means to follow you. You get down to verse 34, follow this in 14:34, and it says this, salt is good. But if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's neither fit for the soil nor for the manure pile. It's thrown out. And then Jesus, he says this, and he says this multiple times But there's something in this little phrase, whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. He says it multiple times, and there's a spot in Mark, and it's when Jesus is saying this. He says, do you bring a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed instead? Don't you put it on the stand? And he says, for whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the open. And then he says this, and here it is again. He says, if anyone has ears to hear, let them hear. And then he adds to it, he says this, consider carefully what you hear. So here's this Jesus, and when he teaches, he used this phrase a lot, and it's the book of Revelation. Whoever has ears, let the church hear. Whoever has ears, let them hear. The Spirit is saying to the churches. Okay, so just sit with me for a minute on this one. Jesus is saying we need to hear differently. We need to listen a different way. We need to hear what he's saying, and we need to sit in that, and we need to have ears, different kind of ears, inside ears, that will listen to what God's telling us about himself and about us. Just as Jesus, and this is what he pushes. It's listening that requires a different ear, a silence, so you can hear his voice. There's this beautiful story in 1 Kings. And in 1 Kings 19, it's a story of Elijah, the prophet. And Elijah was a great prophet. And this 18, in fact, go read it this week. Right, 1 Kings 18 and 19. Go read it. And it's this power encounter that Elijah has with the god Baal, right? And they all believed in Baal. And they had all these, Israel was getting taken over by all these idol worshipers. And he challenges them to a power thing. And God wins. 18 is beautiful. You get to 19. And then the tables turn because God wins his power. Kind of Elijah, it's just a great story. And God spoke to him, right? And then he had to flee. This happened. Then he had to flee because the queen Jezebel had placed a price on his head. So he hid in a cave, and God asked him what he was doing there. And I want you just to hear this part, okay? Just see it here. So this is Elijah. He's hiding in the cave. Queen Jezebel's after him, right? The Lord said to Elijah, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by, right? So just put yourself in his shoes. He's got a price on his head. He's drained physically, emotionally, spiritually, and he's just saying, why am I even here, God? Why am I even here? So God says, go outside, and the Lord is going to pass by. And then it says this, then a great and powerful wind tore the mountain apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, catch it, came a gentle whispering. And when Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and he went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. And then a voice said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? So just the picture, right? The picture. Here it is. Here it is. God speaks. And he speaks in the quiet. There's so much noise in our lives. There's so much noise around us. We allow so much noise in. And we're surrounded by so much that's hard to hear. And God says, meet me, Elijah. And how does he meet him? Not in the earthquake. Not in the wind, not in the fire, but in the gentle whisper. And the only way to hear the gentle whisper is in the quiet. It's in the quiet. Several years ago, I began to practice silence more. And I'm far from an expert, but I can tell you that in my practicing silence, there have been breakthroughs in my life when I sat in deliberate, intentional silence, said, God speak, God speak, God speak, God speak. And there have been multiple and breakthroughs in my life. I'm going to tell you about one or two of them. When I was a new believer in college, there was a verse that became my verse. I don't know how God revealed it to me. I saw it, I read it, and it's been my life verse. It's Romans 8:31 that says this, for what shall we say in response to this? If God is for us, who can be against us, right? So I love that God is for me because here is my battle, right? Here is my battle. All of my life, here is my battle. I'm only as good as my last performance. I'm only good if I please people. I'm only good if I perform well. I'm only good if people like me. And I'm only good as my last performance. And I spent the first 10 years or so of my ministry, first year, I literally felt this. I'm not exaggerating this. I literally felt this, that I am 3 sermons away from getting fired. And I lived under that because I had to perform and perform. And if I didn't perform and it wasn't going well, then people wouldn't like. And I literally lived this way, that I'm 3 sermons away, 3 weekends away from being fired. It's a horrible way to live. So in the quiet, here's how God began to speak to me. What happens if you'll let him speak, he'll start pulling the pieces together. He'll start pulling them together for you. He'll speak, he'll tell you things. And so in that quiet, here's some things God began to speak to me, that he loves me and I don't have to perform anymore. And then he reminded me that verse he gave me when I was a 21-year-old knucklehead, that's the verse he gave me. For what can we say in response to this? Is God is for us. Who can be against us? He's on my side. He's all I need. And that was what he gave me. And so he pulled all of that growing up where I had to perform, all of that even as an adult where I had to perform. And he began to teach me, I love you. You don't have to earn it and you don't have to perform. And I tell you, that happened because I practiced silence. There was a moment in the last year or year and a half where God did something else in me through silence. I'm contemplating this question. I was thinking back in my childhood, and I was thinking back going, wow, we never had family and I had a good mom and dad. They were great people. I loved them. They became Jesus followers, but we never talked. I don't remember one conversation at the table. I don't remember family meetings. I don't remember even after I got in trouble. I can remember one time my dad had come to get me out of jail as a high school kid, and I thought, this is a classic one. I thought, he waited. All my buddies got picked up. My dad's the last one. He gets up and puts his suit coat on, comes in to pick me up, and I'm thinking he's going to smack me. I'm thinking all these things, and all he says to me is, I hope you know you took 10 years off your mother's life tonight. And you know what? We never talked. We never talked about it. We never, ever had family talk. So I'm thinking about this. And then in my quiet time, I'm going, I need to break that with my kids. I need to be intentional with each of my kids, but I wonder why it's there. And I got to do this. And I found out this crazy thing about my mom. My mom was 19 years old. She was a freshman at Sheridan Junior College in Sheridan, Wyoming. And she was going to college and she got a boyfriend and they were dating and the guy asked her to marry him. My mom said yes. And they brought the guy home and my grandma and grandpa, her mom and dad didn't like him. And the next morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, my grandparents put my mom, their daughter, on a bus with a one-way ticket and one suitcase to Hastings, Nebraska to go to Hastings College. Never talked about it again. And I wonder why my mom and dad never talked deeply about big things. Because I wish she learned. So God revealed that to me and it pushed me farther. It pushed me to say, I've got to do this. But that happened in silence, right? That happened because I practiced this being quiet as hard as it is. And I'm a mover and I'm a walker and I like to keep going. I like to talk and I'm a verbal processor, but there's silence that needs to happen. And God spoke that to me. Hey, my friends, this week, I'm going to give you some tips right now, but let's fast from background noise. Let's practice times of intentional silence, okay? Let's practice these because it gives God room to speak to the inside stuff, All right, practical tips. We're going to just go through them pretty quick. They're going to be online. So here's some tips for this week as you start to practice this. It will be difficult. Okay? Just prepare, okay? It's going to be hard. Okay, it's going to be hard. You're going to find that out in just a little bit, okay? As usual, pick a time and a place, okay? Pick a time and a place. Hey, listen, I know for some of you right now, you're just going, can't do it. There's just no way. There's no way I can do this. I got 4 kids, or I work 3 jobs, or I got 7 roommates, right? I know, but you can figure out lots of things in your life. You can figure out if you're young parents, you figure out how to get your kids to 14 different events every week, and you happen to make it work. You figure out how to get time alone. Right? I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying you just need to do it. Pick a time and a place. You can begin to practice in some rhythms of like shower and drive and walking, like just turn the radio off. Turn the radio off in the car. Just use that 15-minute commute just to go silence and say, God, here I am. Speak to me, right? Or the shower. Instead of having the music going, just here I am, God. Speak to me. All right. So you can incorporate some of this into rhythms. Now that's the rhythm part. Remove your phone and the remote. Okay. Just remove it. Don't have it when you're looking for silence and you want to give God room. Don't have your phone and don't have the remote near you. Don't do it. Okay. Next one. Your mind will wander, okay? It just will. Some people get really discouraged. Well, I tried to sit in quiet and I tried to just listen to God, but I was thinking about this and listen, it's going to do that. And you say, thank you, God, for the beautiful mind that you gave me. See where it goes. Because you know what? After a while, your mind may be going to things that are causing anxiousness in you, or fears, or hurts, or pains that you need to say, God, I'm lifting this to you. But your mind will wander, see where it goes, and just bring it back, okay? Open your Bible and close your mouth. Have your Bible open and your mouth closed. And just see, he speaks through his word. That's what his word does. He speaks. Have a pen and a notebook and just have it there, because if God says something, you want to write it down. And if something else comes to your mind that's distracting, you write it down, get it off your mind to be ready to go. But have a pen and notebook. And here's the last one. Have a mantra or a question to zero in on. And here's what I do. When I start to get quiet, I repeat something like this. Oh, Lord, your love endures forever. You are good, Lord, and your love endures forever. You're good, Lord, and your love. Or be still and know that I'm God. Be still. And I use that. Or Jesus, meet me in this place. Jesus, meet me in this moment. Jesus. So I think it helps you zero in. Okay. So listen, this is a big one, and it's going to be, okay, it's going to be kind of hard. I'm asking you, do it, okay? Do it. Do it this week. Give him room. You can't be a no matter follower if you don't give him room to speak.
Thanks for that message, Pastor John. And I'm really excited to have the gift of awareness this week. So the fast is the fast from background noise. And for me, that's a challenging one. And background noise for me isn't always the music or having the TV on or listening to an audiobook. A lot of times for me, it's busyness. I wrap up something and I go right to the next thing. I have a list that I just continually work through, and it's hard for me to just stop. And what that does is it distracts me from silence, from giving God room to speak, to be aware of what he is up to in my life. So this week for me, I'm going to do a couple things. In my car rides, when I normally listen to an audiobook, I'm going to do it in silent and just see what God might reveal to me about what he's doing in my life. And also, I'm going to just build in some time, block off some time that I would normally be just going on to the next project or doing the next thing, and just have some time of silence, just to see what God is up to. And I'm just really excited to do that. And I know it's going to be a challenge for me, but I encourage you to do the same. Just get really practical on what it looks like for you to remove background noise. Maybe it is simply music, or turning the TV on, or listening to an audiobook, or reading the newspaper, whatever that is. I encourage you to just remove that. Give yourself intentional time just to receive the gift of awareness. And as a reminder, we have phone backgrounds just to keep that fast top of mind. And you can get those by texting FAST to 99581. They'll send you a link to the folder that has them. But kids, don't run off yet. Children's programming is about to begin. So don't miss that. And everyone else, we'll see you back next week.
All right, one more. Yeah, see, it was April Fool's Day a couple days ago, and well, I didn't have the chance to get Noah, so I want to get him now. So I'm filling all of these Oreos with toothpaste, but he'll never know. He'll be good. Hey, Noah, I've got something for you.
What's up?
I know you really like Oreos.
My favorite snack of all time.
Yeah, and see, I was trying to be super nice, so I got you some Oreos. Here, have one.
All right. These are good. Where'd you get these?
The store.
They're like a seasonal or?
Do they taste any different?
They're good. Can I have more?
Sure, they're like no odd flavor you're getting,
Maybe a little minty.
but they're good?
Delicious.
Well, that didn't work. Here, have the rest.
Well, I don't know what that's all about. But in the meantime, sit down, grab a snack, and enjoy Kids Online this week. We'll see you next week.
What do you focus on when you're putting together a puzzle? Maybe you look for the edge pieces so you can mark the boundaries of the picture. Maybe you grab one piece at a time and try over and over to match it up so that it makes sense. Maybe you get stuck on that missing piece and can't move on until you fix it. Maybe you avoid that one section you know is going to be super hard. Or maybe you lose patience because it's taking so long to see the big picture. You see where I'm going with this, don't you? Sometimes our lives can feel like one big confusing puzzle. You've got one piece here and another over here, and they don't make sense. Like, how could they even be a part of the same picture? You've got big, frustrating gaps, and you just can't see where it's all going. But that's where hope comes in. Even when we don't see how it all fits together, God does. In fact, God has promised that He is working all things together for good for those who love Him. Every single thing in your life has a place. Even that really weird piece fits somewhere. Yes. And even if your life feels like this right now, in the end, God will make everything right. We'll see how even the most confusing pieces fit together to form something amazing and beautiful. And because we know that God can see the big picture and is always at work, we know hope is alive. And when we choose hope, even in the darkest moments, others can see God at work. That's why hope is an amazing way to worship God with your life. Because worship is about more than just singing loud. It's all about living loud.
When the night is darkest and I feel weary, I'm not alone, 'cause you are with me. A new day is coming, I see light, and the sun will rise, and hope is alive, yeah. No matter what tomorrow brings, I know that you'll be by my side all
Oh, good, we're live.
Hey everyone, my name is Jacob. Hey, question for you. Who likes puzzles? Ooh, I know I do. I like all kinds of puzzles. Jigsaw puzzles and Sudoku puzzles, crossword puzzles. Oh, those little pieces of metal that get all stuck together and you have to spend hours twisting them apart. Yes! Woo! I love puzzles. Every single puzzle has a solution, no matter how challenging. Puzzles remind me of hope. Hope is believing that something good can come out of something bad. You see, sometimes life can feel like a puzzle, kind of like you're trapped in a maze. But when you have hope, you know that there's always gonna be a way out. Got it, Jacob. Woo! Or what if you've got so many problems that you feel like you're underwater? Well, hope reminds you to just keep swimming. And then there are those problems that just seem impossible to figure out, like this bottle puzzle right here. The object of this puzzle is to get the ball into the neck of the bottle. Problem is, there always seems to be something in the way. Been trying, this is fun, to get this one, no, almost there, solved for like 10 years. No, come on. And then go. Oh, maybe this one is impossible. In today's story, we'll hear about two sisters and their brother who found themselves in a situation that seemed impossible. So, they called on Jesus, who didn't do what they expected. I bet this bottle wouldn't expect if I got a hammer right now.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of John, chapter 11, verses 1 through 45.
Though Jesus had no home of his own when he began to travel and teach, there were a few places that he frequently stayed at. One was the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus.
Come in. We want to hear everything.
Stay as long as you like.
Mary, Martha, and Lazarus lived in the town of Bethany, just outside of Jerusalem. But the last time that Jesus had been in Jerusalem, it didn't end so well with the religious leaders.
My sheep listen to my voice. My Father who has given them to me is greater than anyone. I and the Father are one.
He just claimed to be God. What an evil thing to say.
The leaders actually picked up stones, threatening to kill Jesus. Jesus knew this was not the time to confront them, so he and his friends left and crossed over the Jordan River. While they were gone, Lazarus became very sick.
I just need to lie down.
Oh, he's burning up. We need cool water.
I'll sit with him tonight.
But Lazarus didn't get better. He became more and more feverish and restless.
So hot.
Mary and Martha became so worried about their brother that they sent a messenger after Jesus. After a long journey, the messenger finally reached Jesus and his friends.
Martha and Mary say, "Lord, the one you love is sick."
Jesus turned to his friends.
This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory. God's Son will receive glory because of it.
Perhaps Jesus' friends thought he would just heal Lazarus from a distance, but 2 days later, Jesus told his friends,
Lazarus is dead.
Wait, what?
For your benefit, I am glad I was not there. Now you will believe. But let us go to him.
Even though the religious leaders had tried to kill Jesus in Jerusalem, he chose to return for the sake of his friend. When Jesus and his friends at last neared Bethany, they were quickly spotted by the men and women who had come to comfort Lazarus' sisters.
Martha, Mary, Jesus is here.
If only he had come earlier. I have got some things to say to him.
Martha leapt up and ran to meet Jesus outside the village.
Lord, I wish you had been here. Then my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you anything you ask for.
Your brother will rise again.
I know, when people are raised from the dead on the last day.
Martha, I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live, even if they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?
Yes. I believe you are the Messiah, the Son of God who is supposed to come.
Jesus nodded and looked past her.
Where is Mary?
Martha raced back to get her sister.
The teacher is here. He's asking for you.
Mary couldn't stop her tears, but she got up and hurried to meet Jesus, followed by her family and friends. When she reached him, she fell at his feet.
Lord, I wish you had been here. Then my brother would not have died.
Jesus saw her tears and the deep grief of the others around her, and his own spirit became very sad.
Where have you put him? Come and see, Lord.
As Jesus followed the crowd, his deep sadness overflowed into tears, and everyone noticed.
See how much he loved Lazarus?
Maybe. I mean, he made a blind man see. Couldn't he have showed up sooner and kept Lazarus from dying?
Soon, the group reached the cave where Lazarus' body had been laid. A large rock blocked the entrance.
Take away the stone.
But Lord, he's been in there 4 days. By now, there's a bad smell.
Didn't I tell you that if you believe, you will see God's glory?
Martha swallowed hard and nodded to several of the men standing nearby.
Go ahead.
The men braced themselves and shoved hard against the stone. The wide mouth of the cave gaped open. Jesus stood in front of it and then looked up to heaven.
Father, I thank you for hearing me. I know that you always hear me. But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here. I said it so they will believe that you sent me.
Then Jesus bent down and called loudly into the tomb.
Lazarus, come out.
For a moment, they heard nothing. And then, impossibly, they heard rustling. Lazarus stumbled out of the cave.
Lazarus!
Lazarus' face and body were still wrapped in strips of linen, but he was very much alive.
Take off the burial clothes and let him go.
Swiftly, Lazarus' friends and family unwrapped the strips of linen.
Where am I? Jesus?
Mary and Martha hugged their brother, laughing and crying.
You're alive! You died. Jesus brought you back to life.
Many of the people who had come to comfort Mary and Martha saw the incredible thing that Jesus has done, and so they believed in him.
Oh, okay. When Jesus found out that his friend Lazarus was dying, he said, "This sickness will not end in death." And he was right, wasn't he? When Lazarus died, it wasn't the end. After 4 days, God brought Lazarus back from the dead. Yes! Woo! And because of that, we can know just how powerful God is. God made something good come out of something bad. And you know what? God can still do that today. He may not bring someone back from the dead exactly, but when something bad happens to you or the world, God can help make something good come from it. When you're having a hard time with a subject in school, it may feel like a maze. But God can help you stick with it and learn from the experience. When you have problems at home or in your family, they can get so bad that you feel like you're underwater. But remember that a very powerful God is with you through whatever you're going through. For us, a problem may seem like it's impossible, but for God, the solution is simple. Got it. Here's the one thing to remember today. Whatever happens, remember how powerful God is. Whatever happens, God is so powerful, he can make good come from bad. You may not see or understand how God is working, but you've seen how God has worked in the past. So you know you can trust God no matter what. I guess I'll have to move on to a different puzzle now that I've solved this one. Oh my goodness! No, I could do it again. No, just wait. Now that I've solved this one. Hold on. Solved this one. Okay. You saw me do it now. You saw Jacob do it. Jake, come on, Jacob. Come on. Just, where's that hammer?